So you're gonna come out the gate with a thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna make like a really good joke and then I'm just gonna dive right into it. What is happening?
Is that the joke?
Zelf.
On the shelf.
Wow, body humor, amazing. Is there anything they can't do? Oh no, my hair's all wet still.
Mine looks really good.
Well,
Where's it coming from? Oh, Les Mis.
it's an emotional day of painting.
So General Conference is on Saturday. Word on the street is that there's not going to be a tea and coffee ban anymore. Of course they're going to be like, well, it's never about the tea and coffee. It was always about like the obedience to the blah blah blah.
Same with murdering your adulterous spouse.
So true. Do you still get messages from Mormon friends and family on conference weekend?
Yes,
Okay,
I just
fun.
got one from a mission buddy.
Oh wow.
Who was like, you probably don't remember me, and it's like, of course, but he was just like, you were such a good elder, you really loved the people and loved the Lord, and
It's
I
true,
love
you
that.
did.
And I was like, well, thanks.
We've made an ex-Mormon conference bingo, which we're going to post right before conference weekend, but we put on it things that all ex-Mormons can probably relate to during conference weekend, which is stuff like just getting a text out of the blue from someone who doesn't even talk to you anymore, doesn't express any interest in your life normally, being like, hey, I just want you to know I really love you, or like,
Hey, just thinking about you.
yeah, this talk really made me think of you, or you know what I mean. Did you just get really jazzed for conference when you were Mormon?
Oh yeah, it was the best. I would always dress up for it, even though it was at home, which sucked. Like, what a waste. I think maybe once I got home from no, I still dressed up.
Still dressed up.
Yeah, but it was like the best breakfast of the year. The trick was finding like a really cool Mormon family somewhere around the area. They would do like a big breakfast.
Oh, do you remember the first, the only conference I ever had while married? I made French toast for us. You were there.
Was I?
Yeah.
When was that?
You were, is it my like shitty little apartment in Logan?
Oh my god, did we
I
watch
made French
Conference?
toast. Yeah, we did. You were probably already on the out though. You were really, we were both really close to leaving.
That must have been brutal.
Yeah, no, we were both close to leaving because oh, that was the year that the first time that people ever put their hands up and said that they opposed. And that was like the first year that had ever happened. And I remember both of us were like pretty sympathetic to people doing that.
Yeah.
I think we must have been Denver Snuffer by that point, because I remember
we'd been Denver Snuffered. You've been Denver Snuffered.
yours is so fine. Yeah, so that was our last faithful conference together, was when we'd been Denver Snuffered. We'd been already learning about the fact that, you know, you're supposed to be able to sustain or oppose. It's not always been this thing where if you oppose then you're an apostate, you know. It used to be like legitimate common consent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Also.
Yeah, it's all this like pretension of voting.
Yeah, it's like a Russian election.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Well, that's the thing, it's like it used to be an election and they changed the rules so that the people in power wouldn't have their power disrupted anymore. Like, Brigham Young didn't want to have to run for office every couple years. He just wanted to stay governor, stay president.
Those 6 months on the campaign trail were hard for him.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
There are lots of people.
He just wanted to get straight to the wife taking. He was having to do all this campaigning. Bullshit, you know, it's holding him back.
That was actually probably the straw that broke my camel's back, was reading about the various succession crises after Joseph Smith, after Brigham Young, after John Taylor. Every time it became this huge calamity.
Wait,
where
really?
The 12
Not
apostles,
just with Brigham?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just with Brigham.
No, it would be this huge, like, total politicking thing. And as I'm reading about it, I was like, okay, this is just like any organization. And it was probably just like this when Jesus died. And, you know, you could just see that the inspiration was, it's just less and less every year, every prophet.
And one of my favorite things about General Conference as an ex-Mormon is, because I really don't, I don't really go on Facebook, so I use Twitter and I use Instagram, and I don't follow a ton of super Orthodox Mormons on Twitter, but I think I see enough like progressive Mormons on Twitter, or I guess like most of the millennial Mormons are progressive at this point. But my favorite thing is when some speaker will say something like some apostle that's like vaguely could be interpreted as progressive, or do you know what I mean, just like the vaguest mention of Heavenly Mother, not that that really happens, but just the tiniest thing, and then they'll just be there like, oh my god, I needed this today, tears. And it's like, I do feel for them, because they're really like just grasping at straws, you know, getting thrown scraps of meat from the table, not even. And they just take this tiniest thing, or like a woman's praying, and it's just so celebrated, and it's like, I want to be at a point where it's not celebrated because it's just
it's normal.
Yeah.
I remember being there. It sucks.
I know, it's sad seeing the progressive Mormons on Twitter like celebrating things that you just think, oh god, it's 2019. Like, that you're crying with gratitude about this is so sad and says so much about
They
your
referred to women as people.
Oh my
Amazing.
god.
Oh. I was thinking today about the parallels between Pharisaism and the Mormon Church, because you have...
When are you not?
Yeah, right?
It's like Tanner's whole
spiel. Well, they show up in these like business suits, and the
corporate America.
Someone on Twitter's been talking about how like Mormonism is obviously socialistic, like Mormon origins is socialism. And
that's a whole other video.
Other video we will do.
But it is.
Come closer to election time, probably. Yeah, that'll be brutal. They show up in these business suits. Which is like just so indicative of their like capitalist mindset.
1950s America.
And that like that is what a successful person looks like, someone who can wear a suit, and it's like the fine apparel that they warn about in the Book of Mormon, because like what else are they talking about? What is finer than business class suits?
I'm like, if there's a deity, there's no way his preferred style of dress for us is like corporate America. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he would want us to wear the least and Mormons have this idea that, you know, you dress up for the Lord, you wear your finest things, but where has God advocated for fine things generally? Like, he doesn't want that. I guess I just imagine like a true spiritual experience or a true communication with God being like, you wouldn't need to dress up. Like, if anything, you'd be throwing all that aside, because that's like that's like nothing. But then Mormons have it the other way around, and they think it'd be disrespectful to go to conference wearing, you know, but it's like God gave you this
I view it like sort of radical self-expression. However you want to express yourself is good, which Mormons try to inhibit, right? It's all about sticking to the mold, but then going as far like up the class system as you can with that very tightly wound thing.
Battery's dying.
Already, huh? Amazing. And then they go and they sit in the chief seats of their great and spacious building.
Literally, plush, red velvet seats, whatever they are.
And not only do they love to be greeted by their titles, which they'll correct you about if you try to do it. Like, that happened in Bednar all the time. They love to be called by their titles. And not only that, their middle fucking initials. It's obnoxious.
It is crazy how tame General Conference is now compared to how it was in the past. And how much the Mormons will celebrate the most trivial logistical change as this enormous revelation thing. Like, this is like your twice yearly revelation session, and like the best you get is like a minor mission age change.
There's no lower bar than the Mormon bar for miracles and revelation.
Truly.
It's like everything is revelation, everything's a miracle. And we're the only ones who have revelation and miracles.
Oh, have you heard? So I've heard the tea and coffee rumor, which I suspect might be true. But I heard another rumor that they're gonna make missions a year and a half for everybody.
I could see something like that.
Me too.
I don't know about the coffee and tea thing.
I'm not sure either. That could definitely just be a rumor. Yeah, I also wonder, like, I feel like for the last few General Conferences, the ex-Mormons have known about what's going to happen at conference. The Mormons don't really speculate in the same way that ex-Mormons do. They love to speculate, but... And
ex-Mormons tend to get the actual information before through like Mormon WikiLeaks and things. I always text my brother before conference and I'm like, here's what's going on. And he's like, oh, how'd you know? And I was like,
but yeah, the ex-Mormons are usually right about their predictions, and so I'm like, if I was the church, I'd circulate a few false rumors just to make it seem like we didn't have our fingers on the pulse too much, which we do.
The thing about the coffee is like, I don't think that's an official, like it feels too like in the middle between official policy and cultural norm.
They're gonna try and pass it off one day as just they're just gonna silently do away with it as a temple recommendation.
I think it may like bring up I could see them bringing up a story that was like and you know, she drank coffee but still I could see like that kind of like, we're so open-minded, we can even love coffee drinkers.
Although in the past it was like, and that tiny sip of coffee prevented her from having the blessings of the Lord and being with her dead children children forever.
I'm pretty sure that was like last conference. We're like projecting what we hope it could be like, which is greater love hath no man than this, than that they would forgive a sinner who drinks coffee.
That woman is now the bishop.
Yeah.
There's a revelation. Oh, I guess they changed the missionaries can now call home every week. We've never done a video about that, have we?
No, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is good.
And like, what a huge step out of like cultiness, because that is huge.
I've heard that when high demand religions start losing a lot of members, they will often start relaxing the rules as a way to try and get people to stay. Like the Catholic Church did it, other churches have done it, but it doesn't work. People are more devoted when the rules are stricter. Yeah, like it doesn't actually stop them from hemorrhaging members the way they think it is, because it's all part of that false narrative that they have that like people leave because of the rules, which they don't. So like the tea and coffee thing would kind of be an interesting sign of that happening.
Yeah.
But as would the missionaries being able to call home, because you probably won't get brainwashed as hard if you can call home every week. So then how's that gonna, do you know what I mean? Like, the stricter the rules, the more brainwashed you are, and so the more you stay in. So I think some of what they're doing might be counterintuitive to what they want.
Yeah, some, and yet at the same time, I feel like there is a part of the church that's also remaining very rigid and fundamentalist.
Yeah.
Oakes being a primary leader of that camp, and Nelson himself. He's the one who was behind the November policy and all that. So.
Oh yeah, I forget that.
Yeah. Oof. It's like, oh, he's making all these great things. He's still a homophobe.
It is crazy to me to see Mormons on, I feel like every video is me talking about Mormons on Twitter. But it's like my main interaction with Mormons is on Twitter. Yeah. That's like mostly how I know what's going on with them. But it's just crazy to me seeing them say stuff like, God is a feminist, and like trying to ascribe all of these progressive qualities, even to church leaders who like, there's a long history of them not being that. Like, wake up. Russell M. Nelson is not a fucking feminist.
No, he's not.
And you're deluded if you think he is.
But he gets those little revelations in the middle of the night.
And his wife, she
writes on his notepad.
Scurry right out to the couch. She just rests her tiny head.
Well, conference season can be rough for people who have left the church, especially if it's a pretty recent leaving the church.
I think it's been fine for me, but sorry to just butt in, but it's been not too bad for me because my family's not in it, so I don't get like the family members sending me the talks, you know, that would be really rough. But I remember my first general conference out of the church did feel quite hard, because you're just seeing all these Mormons like asserting their own righteousness and kind of subtweeting you, making these posts that you just know are aimed at you about people who leave. And then there's always at least one talk where like the basis of the talk is some logical fallacy about people who leave. And you're like, I want to respond to this and be like, that's not true. But it's like, if you do that, then you're like attacking them, but they're allowed to like share whatever they want about you. Like the stuff they're posting is like implying stuff about you, but you're not allowed to defend yourself. It can be really tough. I don't get messages from my family, but it's still like very psychologically disturbing to me to know that my family is all gathered around a TV listening to old people who think it's better for me to be dead than to be me. I remember, so I was married obviously when we first left the church, and I remember that first conference after we left, Jeffrey R. Holland gave this talk, and it was essentially just like guilt tripping people who leave by saying like, you're making your mothers so sad. Like that was like the basis of the talk. And
I watched that next to my mother. They were in Salt Lake, so I went to stay at their hotel, see them in their hotel, and conference was still on, and I was sitting next to her, and he was like, how could you break your mother's heart? And I was just like, fuck you, Jeff Holland.
Abusive. Yeah, anyway, I remember that being a whole thing. So we were in a group text today with a lot of our ex-Mormon friends, and one of them was like, I just don't reply to my parents on conference weekend. Like, I don't return their calls, I don't reply to their texts. Like, that's just my rule. And I was like, that's actually really healthy, I think, just to kind of have that standard for yourself. Yeah, it's okay to set boundaries for yourself if you know that things are going to be triggering, if you don't have to be attentive. It's actually a great... It's like it's usually the first warm weekend of the season. Great time to get down into the desert for those of us in Utah. I would advise people to set boundaries for themselves. Don't feel any responsibility to respond to people. It's weird how Mormons will send you stuff that is like, you know, passive aggressively attacking you or implying something that you're not, or, you know, criticizing your character. And you're just supposed to take it. And if you reply in any like honest way, then they feel attacked. Do you know what I mean? It's just such bullshit. Like, you don't owe anyone anything. And if you can respond to things if you want to. Yeah.
It's your choice.
Yeah. I also like the idea of planning something. If you think it's going to be a tough weekend, plan something really fun with people who you really love. We're a life advice channel now. Sometimes people really just, the audacity is wild with what people will say to you. It's like conference weekend brings out the crazy in them, and they just feel like they can pull you to repentance, tell you you're going to go to hell. Like, they'll just say anything goes on conference weekend.
I've also had it also creates a cognitive dissonance for a lot of people who are in the beginning stages of the faith crisis, who are like get kind of like off vibes about the whole thing.
Yes, that's so true.
I've noticed I also get an influx of messages from people who are doubting around this time.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. I think it's because you suddenly start having doubts, and then you hear the way they talk about people with doubts, and you're like, but that doesn't align with my experience. But then you also are like trying so desperately to get what you need from the conference. It's really a mindfuck.
Definitely.
Anyway, I think what we can all agree on is that it's going to be boring. Okay, let us know what you're doing instead of watching General Conference this weekend. Hopefully not too many of you are forced for whatever reason to watch it with people.
And if you are watching it, tell us why.
And if you are, you can do a General Conference bingo, or
hit yourself with a hammer, whatever it takes.
Yeah, knock yourself out for a few hours. Support us on Patreon if you want us to keep making more videos. This was kind of just like an informal chatty one. We just felt like we should commemorate conference weekend somehow. Thanks for watching.
Love you.
Tam's still doing finger guns every video.
I'll never stop.
He's never gonna stop.